I lost you guys.
Okay.
All right, you're back, Kimberly. All right, on behalf of the board, I welcome all members of the audience to this evening's meeting. This meeting is a working session of the board to conduct the business of the district. The agenda for today's meeting has been published, and the agenda items to be discussed and or voted on have been studied by board members. I'll introduce the people here on the dais with me. To my far left is Recording Secretary Cindy Benson, Superintendent Larry Francois, board members Amy Cast and Sandy Hayes. Kimberly D'Angelo is participating with us via conference call. You can see her front and center in the room there. I am Janet Quinn, and I serve as president of the board for about 5 more minutes. Agendas for this meeting, as well as minutes from our previous meeting, are available on the table at the back. If you are here to address the board on agenda items, please sign in on the clipboard that's on the table at the back with the agendas, and you'll have an opportunity near the beginning of the meeting for your comments. We do have a little bit different agenda order tonight, as many of you will notice. So, first order of business is approval of the minutes, the regular board meeting minutes of November 10th, and the special meeting minutes of November 10th and November 17th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on any of these items? Seeing none, we're going to call for a vote, and we're going to do a voice vote this evening. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is oaths of office. Superintendent Larry Francois will now administer the oaths of office to newly elected board members Ken Smith and David Cogan, after which they will take their seats on the dais. And I will say good evening.
What's up, Ken and Dave? It's my pleasure to administer your oaths of office, so I would ask that you please repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Ken Smith,
Solemnly affirm
solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Director of North Shore School District
of Director of North Shore School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
All right, since I am Vice President of the Board, I'm going to begin the rest of the meeting. So the next order of business is election of officers. So right now, I'd like to call for nominations for President to serve during the ensuing year. Any nominations?
I nominate Amy Cast.
I second.
Any other nominations? Any? Okay. Okay, then now we will do a roll call vote for election of president.
Cast.
Me Cast.
Amy Cast.
Amy Cast.
Your turn, Kimberly. Kimberly?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can barely hear you guys.
We're voting for president. Amy has been nominated, and only Amy. Do you want to vote for her?
Yes.
There you go.
All right, so that's 5-0. So thank you very much. I am the president of the board. Thank you very much. Okay, so next up is to call for nominations for vice president to serve during the ensuing year. And I ask for nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Sandy Hayes.
Any other nominations?
Second?
All right. Hearing
I
no.
didn't hear what you guys said.
All right, Kimberly, Sandy has been nominated for vice president. And that nomination has been seconded by Ken. And now we're asking if there's any other nominations for vice president.
I would like to be nominated for vice president.
All
I
right.
nominate Kimberly D'Angelo
All
for
right.
vice president.
Second.
All right, so if I remember this from years past, would any of the directors that have been nominated for vice president like to say anything? And I'm going to adjust the microphone here. A little bit more. So, Sandy, since you were nominated first, would you like to say anything?
So I appreciate the nomination, but I'm going to withdraw myself since I'm currently legislative chair. That seems like enough offices, so I'm withdrawing.
All right, so Kimberly, were you able to hear that?
Yes, I can hear that.
Okay, so Sandy's withdrawn. So I'd like to offer you the same opportunity. Would you like to say anything about your nomination for vice president?
Not if I'm the only one. I would like to be the president and then as well as president does, and I know you had the opportunity to do that last year alongside Janet, so I think that would be a good opportunity for me to understand the office of president and see where I can contribute.
Sounds great. Sounds great. All right, hearing no other nominations, I'd like to call for a roll call vote.
I'd like to vote for Kimberly D'Angelo.
Kimberly D'Angelo.
Kimberly D'Angelo.
Kimberly D'Angelo.
Your turn, Kimberly.
Kimberly D'Angelo.
All right, so that is, I know, I hear you, Kimberly, I hear you. So there you go, with a vote 5-0, Kimberly D'Angelo has been elected vice president of the board for the ensuing year. So lastly, I'd like to request call for nominations for audit committee member to serve during the ensuing year. And just as Kimberly, you can also self-nominate as well.
I would like to nominate Ken Smith.
I would like to second. Any other nominations for audit committee? All right. Hearing none, I'd like to request a roll call vote.
I vote for Ken Smith.
Ken Smith.
Ken Smith,
Ken Smith.
and your turn, Kimberly. All right. So then the vote is 5-0, and with Ken Smith becoming our next audit committee member/chair, because there's one. So there you go. All right, everyone, thank you. Next up on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Sorry that.
Positive I have a report here somewhere. Welcome, Ken and David, and congratulations to all of our new officers for the coming year. Look forward to continuing to work with you. I want to begin by giving a special thanks to all of our support services staff for their work last week in preparation and response to the windstorm that knocked out power at 19 of our schools and created a number of other facility-related issues to address. They did a great job on Wednesday and all night Wednesday, all night Thursday, into Thursday morning getting us ready to resume school. So congratulations and kudos to those folks. They continue to do great work. I've continued my school visits over the past 2 weeks at Skyview Junior High in Canyon Creek. I was scheduled for my final school, Maywood Hills, on November 18th, which was canceled due to power outages and school closure, so I will be there next week. We've continued with our pre-legislative session meetings with our local legislators, again emphasizing the importance for the legislature to address full funding of basic education compensation in conjunction with any plans to reform the current unconstitutional over-reliance on local levies. Met with Senator McAuliffe, with Director Hayes and D'Angelo, and met earlier today with Representative Paulette with Directors Hayes and Director Smith, and have very productive meetings with both of them. On November 12th, attended the North Shore Council PTSA Principals and Presidents Luncheon. I appreciate the annual opportunity to bring everyone together in the fall. Good conversation and appreciation of the PTA's interest in partnering with schools in the district around the transition needs as we look towards the changes ahead in the 2017 and 18 school year. On November 16th, I met with Superintendents and Presidents Group, and this is the group of my counterparts from Cascadia College, Lake Washington Tech, Lake Washington and Riverview school districts, and we continue to meet and update and continue our work on our common action plan. We'll be organizing reciprocal meetings of district counselors and college advising staff at our respective institutions as a way to increase understanding and awareness of the opportunities that are available to students in our respective arenas. We are also in the process of producing a video highlighting 2- and 4-year college opportunities for students, as well as dual credit opportunities, ways for students to obtain college credit while in high school. And the video is targeted for students and parents, and it should be ready by the end of January, so we're looking forward to that. On November 17th, along with all the folks here who participated in the Wooden Elementary School Improvement Visit, I thought it was a very thorough and informative presentation by Wooden Principal Don Bowers, and walked away really impressed by the amount and the intentionality of professional learning that's taking place at Wooden to increase teacher capacity to identify and meet the needs of all students. November 19th, attended both the Waffle and Woodinville Chamber of Commerce monthly meetings. Somehow they ended up both on the same day. And then later that afternoon, I spoke to the Snow King retirees, and these are the retired employees of Edmonds, Shoreline, and North Shore School District. They asked me to speak with them annually, and I provided them an update on North Creek High School, grade reconfiguration, boundary adjustments, and our equity and diversity plan. And the Snow King retirees, in addition to advocating for retiree policy and legislation at the state level, they also provide classroom grants that will be going to 5 North Shore School District teachers this fall, and they continue to offer $1,000 scholarships to graduates from Edmonds, Shoreline, and North Shore School District. So they're very positively involved still in our community and with our students. And finally, on November 19th through the 21st, attended the annual WASDA conference with the school board. Attended several worthwhile sessions, and I tried to focus my energies around diversity and equity topics, and appreciated the opportunity to spend time with new and continuing board members, and appreciated having Sunday off from the conference as well. So.
Great, thank you, Larry. So next is on the agenda is association and public comments. The North Shore School Board District Board, North Shore School, you'll have to forgive me guys, I've never done this before. The North Shore School District Board of Directors has set aside a period of up to 60 minutes to receive updates and comments from association leaders and citizens from our community. The board expects speakers to address matters related to district operations, policies, procedures, and agenda items under consideration by the board. Comments should not make reference to any employee or representative of the district by name or by identifiable reference. Board meetings are not the appropriate setting for personnel complaints. If interested, there is a complaint process available through the Office of the Superintendent. Please note that because of the public governance process, the board may ask clarifying questions regarding topics not on the meeting's agenda, but will likely defer discussion to a future meeting if warranted, in order for staff to prepare any necessary background information for board members to review and for the discussion item to be included on a published agenda for the benefit of any other parties who may have interest in the topic. Alternatively, a district employee or board member may respond to individuals offering public comment at a later date if warranted to do so. When addressing the board, please state your name clearly for our records. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. There's a timer that will sound when your time has expired. We thank you for your participation in the governance process. Are there any association leaders wishing to address the board? Sherry?
I have one for Sandy, so I brought one for everyone.
Thanks.
Oh, yay, thank you. Hello, I am Sherry Rudolph. I am the North Shore PTSA Council President. And what I have given you, we had a speaker last Thursday from Youth Suicide Prevention Program. It was an intimate crowd once again. It was a crazy week last week, I know for everyone. And so, but wonderful information, and we plan on continuing that. That is a free program provided by King County, and we have several principals that are interested in a Spanish-speaking version that we're hoping to get as well, and so hopefully bring this again. But any communication we can do on the self-harm of adolescents is just going to help get those kids the help sooner. So, Sandy had asked me for that, and I thought I would bring that for all of you. Cindy has yours, Kimberly. Thank you so much for those of you that attended and always support our President and Principals Luncheon. I did not get to publicly thank Ann Dutchman and Evie Schumann and then all the secretaries, well, Cynthia helps too, and so helps us get all of the RSVPs from the principals. And so, yeah, it's quite the process to get all of the principals and the presidents and all together, but it did work out, and it was quite a wonderful event, and thanks to Evergreen Church as well. The chef, Sebastian Felkin, once again was amazing, and so we very much appreciate that he helps us out. Also, we had a guest from Puyallup, my counterpart, president of the Puyallup Council, and she had some great things to say about, she said our relationship with our district, she's like, oh, this is great. It was just really great to see. And she also had previously emailed me questions about holding events in churches. Her board was very hesitant to do that, and I did get to share how the board and Larry and us as well have really partnered with a lot of churches in the area for just to bring that greater sense of community, and she was really excited to see how that all put together. So I had a lot of compliments for our relationship as well. We also welcome Ken and David. I'm very looking forward to working with you both as well. Wanted to let you know, all of you, if you have future candidates in mind. We did elect our nominating committee last Monday. This is my last year's president, and we have some other board members that will be changing things up as well. So the nominating committee is headed by Stacy Meyer, our Bothell area VP. So be in touch with her if you have some good candidates in mind. And she is also in charge of our spring, we're calling it a breakfast now. We are going to move it a little bit earlier in the morning because we did have some feedback from principals about having to hire a full-day sub. So it will be a breakfast now, and we have McMinimans reserved, so it will be in a school. So we're very excited. We will get you finalized times, but it will be June 2nd, so you can save the date. And we also are trying to put together some legislator meetings, maybe some of them that you haven't met with yet. So please let me know. I'll be in touch with Sandy, but if any of you are welcome to join us, and some presidents want to be in on that as well. And look forward to sharing any sort of social time with you at all over the holidays. Thank you.
Sherry? Greg, are there any other associations? Oh, Patsy.
Hi, my name is Patsy Treese, and I'm with the North Shore Music Partners, and I just wanted to introduce Mr. Kochen and Mr. Smith to what the North Shore Music Partners is. It's a group of interested people throughout the district who want to support music and education, and so if you got to hear the lovely voices of the Lockwood students today, that was courtesy of the North Shore Music Partners. And also we did a training last Monday night on, and Sandy was helping, with trying to get some of the booster organizations a little bit more in touch with what the rules are around running a nonprofit company and that sort of thing, and that it is a company, and just some of the rules that are sometimes a little bit difficult to understand. So we will probably resume having music before the school board meetings occasionally. A couple of years ago we did it every time, and that might have been a little too much, but especially the week in January where you are, it's your week, we'll have some really cool music for you, so you can look forward to that. And I invite everybody who is an advocate for music to check out our Facebook page, North Shore Music Partners.
Thank you, Patsy. The music was wonderful, thank you. All right, and if there's no other association leaders, I'll go to the list, so Angie Hancock.
My name is Angie Hancock, and I would like to welcome our 2 new board members. I look forward to working with you and the rest of the school board to make our district one that provides an education for all students that's challenging, equitable, and appropriate. To recap some of the testimonies provided in recent board meetings, Save Our Challenge group is composed of concerned parents, citizens, and students who believe the current self-select challenge model offered in our junior highs is a vital component that should be retained in the middle school grade reconfiguration. Offering self-select challenge classes gives students the opportunity to opt in to faster-paced classes with more in-depth concepts and like-minded peers in the subjects they choose. Additionally, we believe that giving students the opportunity to opt out of challenge classes is vital as well. Removing the self-select option and forcing all students to take challenge curriculum would only lead to more stressed out kids and a contentious classroom environment. The satisfaction survey conducted by the HiCap Parent Advisory Board concluded that expecting teachers to differentiate instruction from many levels of learners, from HiCap identified to struggling learners, leads to disappointment and frustration for both the teachers and the students. Allowing motivated students and HiCap identified students to self-select faster-paced classes reduces the number of ability levels in a single classroom, making it more feasible for teachers to differentiate instruction. Additionally, the costs involved to transition to a new Challenge for All model would be substantial. As the research shows, differentiation in a heterogeneous classroom requires extensive professional development, new curriculum, cross-discipline collaboration time, and extra commitment on the part of teachers and administrators. The Save Our Challenge group would like to extend an open invitation to any and all board members to discuss ways in which the district can continue to provide self-select challenge classes in our new middle schools while incorporating many of the good ideas presented by the AMLE. Our group has done extensive research and is more than happy to share that with you, along with our own ideas on what would make for a successful middle school model. In the meantime, I encourage you to visit our website, saveourchallenge.blogspot.com, to read past testimonies, dig into the mountain of research, read well over 1,000 petition comments from parents and students who feel Challenge has been a success, and look at the data that overwhelmingly shows that Challenge has helped to lessen the achievement gap. Then make up your own mind about what really is the best model for our kids. I have 2 children in the district's HiCap program, neither of which will be affected by the Challenge decision. So why am I passionate about saving the Challenge program when my family won't be affected? Because offering self-select challenge classes in all of our middle schools is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Faustina?
Hello and welcome to our new school board members. My name is Austina Devante. Many people know me as the HiCap lady, but people may wonder why I'm so driven about this topic, because like Angie, my kids are not actually affected by the challenge decision because they're part of the HiCap program. Here's why. As I've learned more about HiCap over the years, I've learned some shocking truths that really changed how I parent my kids, and this fuels my passion on this topic. It's actually counterintuitive at first, but it's really vital background for understanding why the challenge decision is so important, and it affects way more kids than the ones that we actually identify as HiCap. We all know how important it is for kids to know how to learn, to wrestle with a tough problem, to persist through failure, to ask for help, to stick with it. A mountain of research has articulated the characteristics of grit, perseverance, and growth mindset as being the single most important skill set for students to develop for long-term success, not just in school, but in life. Our district understands the importance of growth mindset, so I realize I'm preaching to the choir in this one. And our schools actually do a really great job at teaching these foundational skills for most students. From the early grades, our students have constant practice in staring a hard problem in the eye, giving it effort, trying again, eventually emerging victorious, whether it's subtraction or learning how to write a persuasive essay. But what most people don't realize is that our highest ability kids, 15% or more of the population, are most at risk here. It's extremely difficult to teach these life skills of grit, perseverance, and growth mindset. Why? The root problem is that these kids' elementary school experience was one where everything came easy. Even with rigorous Common Core standards, many kids know 50% or more of the grade level material on September 1st. Not because parents are drilling them with flashcards, but because through some quirk of their genes, their brains are sponges and they pick up new ideas everywhere. They learn so quickly with so little effort that even topics that challenge most other kids are easy for them. The extension activities that they get offered are definitely more engaging, but they're still not actually hard. And so when you have a bright kid like this, no amount of talking about grit, perseverance, and growth mindset is actually going to be effective. It just won't stick because these kids have zero frame of reference for the relationship between effort and results. They have never experienced it in their own bodies. This puts them at a critical disadvantage as they move into secondary school and towards real life. If these bright kids are allowed to skate through regular classrooms where they pick up new ideas without effort, they never learn how to tackle a genuinely hard problem. Eventually, they find themselves in middle school geometry or high school physics and are faced possibly for the very first time with a topic that's not intuitive, and they don't have strategies to tackle it. Some of these kids will buckle down, and they'll persevere, and they'll become our National Merit Scholars or valedictorians. But a surprising number of our bright students don't persevere, even though the challenge they're experiencing in the moment may not even be that big. In fact, for our most talented students, they may not hit that crisis until high school, some not until college. But when it happens, the challenge quickly turns into an identity crisis. Their school experience taught them that being smart means everything comes easy. Now that things aren't coming easy anymore, the child starts a cycle of self-doubt. Does that mean I'm not smart anymore?
Thank you.
Susan Cobb?
Good evening, my name is Susan Cobb. I'll pick up where Austina left off. All of this is preventable if schools challenge our bright kids to put forth real effort, not just in high school, but in middle school, and even in the early elementary grades. These kids would develop the essential skills of grit, perseverance, and growth mindset. The trouble is, it takes a lot to actually challenge these kids. Common Core doesn't even come close. Across our top 15% population, it is not unusual for a child to be operating not just one, but several grades ahead of their age mates, not just in content, but in ability to synthesize, apply, and reason abstractly. Further complicating this is their innate sensitivity, intensity, and especially perfectionism. Perfectionism can prevent these kids from reaching outside their comfort zone to challenge themselves because it risks them experiencing failure. Truly, they are a special needs population, and they need special attention from the earliest grades for the best long-term outcomes, most especially when they come from disadvantaged situations. Unfortunately, these kids pass the state tests without trouble, don't need help with the curriculum, and appear to be doing well, so their true level of ability flies under the radar of even the best teachers. The EAP and AAP programs do a great job of serving some of these kids. However, these programs serve less than 3% of our population. Another less than 1% of high-cap kids are served in the regular classroom through differentiation, which so far has not been nearly as effective as we had hoped in providing actual challenge for these identified kids. But even more troubling is the 10% or more of our population that are not explicitly classified as high-cap. These kids exist in every ethnic group, in every economic class, in every corner of our district, and they become harder and harder to find and support wherever they get. The middle school grade reconfiguration task force is considering removing dedicated challenge classes and institutionalizing broad-scale differentiation. This is particularly surprising given that parents, teachers, and administration agree that it has been a very hard road to implement differentiation for just the few dozen high-cap students who were placed in regular classrooms last year. Replacing the challenge program with a wide-scale differentiation approach in our middle school seems like a very risky plan with no built-in accountability. We do not believe it possible to differentiate to the extreme level needed for these kids to actually develop grit, perseverance, and a growth mindset. We implore the elected members of our school board not to let this happen on your watch. Equity and challenge for all needs to include our bright, high-ability students as well. If they are not challenged, really challenged, they will not develop the grit, perseverance, and growth mindset they need to succeed long-term.
Thank you, Susan. Angie Yusuf?
Hello, my name is Angie Hinojos Yusuf. I'd like to talk about equity in the Challenge program with respect to minority students. It is clear that equity is important to the North Shore School District. I agree and believe that Challenge classes, being self-select, are a model of equity. I am a Mexican-American mother of 3 Mexican and Pakistani-American boys in the North Shore School District. My father was an educator, and I was fortunate to have guidance through my academic experience. But I know that not all minorities have the same advantage. The ability grouping that Challenge classes provide has positive consequences for minority students. In his article, Ellis Page explains that schooling in a homogeneous group of students appears to have a positive effect on high-ability students' achievements, and even stronger effects on the achievements of high-ability minority youth. The NSD Performance Scorecard numbers for 8th graders successfully completing algebra shows lower numbers of Black and Hispanic students completing algebra in 8th grade in comparison to their Asian and white peers. Having lived in a town on the U.S.-Mexico border, I have experienced firsthand how many bright kids who were Mexican or Mexican-American were inadvertently passed over for academic opportunities or did not have mentors to help them guide them to those opportunities. In an article titled Addressing the Achievement Gap Between Minority and Non-Minority Children, the authors state, the lack of identification of gifted minority children contributes to the overall minority achievement gap in the U.S. and is a significant waste of talent and ability. Identification procedures, retention practices, and relevant role models in the Challenge program are crucial steps to increasing representation of minority students. With this in mind, many people in our community were dismayed to learn that the district has stopped testing 2nd and 6th graders during the school day for entry into HiCap programs. The HiCap screener test was one way that each student could have an opportunity to be identified for HiCap, and for Challenge classes as well. It has been estimated that 10% of HiCap students do not pass the test for admittance into special programs, but still desperately need the services that Challenge classes offer. A high score would flag that student as needing a faster pace, possibly, and more in-depth material. To be equitable, the district would need to screen through various means every child during the school day to find and encourage those who would benefit from Challenge classes. The longer a student goes without being identified and supported, the farther they will fall behind from their level of potential over time. This contributes to the minority achievement gap. For many children, an appropriate and excellent education means a Challenge classroom with intellectual peers. We are allowing precious children who happen to be minority students to languish in classrooms that are not necessarily meeting their educational needs. Let's not fault the Challenge program for lower comparative numbers of minority students. Let's instead continue to find ways to identify and empower this group of underrepresented kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Nancy Chamberlain?
Good evening. I'm Nancy Chamberlain. I'd like to offer my congratulations to Director Kogan and Director Smith for their successful campaigns, and I look forward to working with both of you for the next 4 years to improve the outcomes for all North Shore students. I have 2 children in the district, a daughter who greatly benefited from the Challenge program and who is now a junior at Woodinville High School taking 4 college-level courses, and a son who gets HiCap services in the AAP at Leota. Neither of my children will be affected by the decisions made about the Challenge program. But that does not stop me from advocating for it, because I have seen firsthand the benefits of it for my daughter, her friends, and for other students. Tonight I wish to share for you a few excerpts from a position statement called Meeting the Needs of High Ability and High Potential Learners in the Middle Grades, which was put out by the National Middle School Association before it merged into the AMLE. I'm going to email each of you a copy of the full statement tomorrow. Now please remember that 10 to 15% of the population is considered high ability, and we only identify 2 to 3%. So the Challenge classes absolutely contain students that fall into the category addressed in the paper. The association has a commitment to developing schools and classrooms in which both equity and excellence are persistent goals for each learner. Equity refers to the opportunity of every learner to have supported access to the highest possible quality education. Excellence refers to the need of every learner for opportunities and supports necessary to maximize his or her learning potential. High ability adolescents may differ from fellow classmates in cognitive skills, interests, modes of learning, and motivation. Their educational needs may also differ in some important ways from those of other young adolescents. Attending to those needs requires informed attention to both equity and excellence in all facets of schooling. For advanced learners, this may require helping students affirm both their abilities and their need to belong to a peer group. Equity in the middle grades requires that all learners have an opportunity to participate in curriculum that is rich in meaning and focused on thought and application. Excellence requires support necessary to show continual growth in knowledge, understanding, and skill. Advanced middle grade learners require consistent opportunities to work at degrees of challenge beyond their particular readiness levels, with support necessary to achieve at the new levels of proficiency. So this position statement supports everything that Austina and Susan spoke of. And I hope that you'll agree that we already meet these standards in the Self-Select Challenge program.
Thank you, Nancy.
Denise Smith?
My name is Denise Smith, and I'm here with my colleagues of the North Shore kitchen staff. I'm the assistant manager at North Shore Junior High, and I'm here with a number of my colleagues tonight to follow up on testimony we submitted at your October 27th meeting, and a letter we sent to you early last week that pertains to our concern and the profound decline in staffing conditions in our district's kitchens. As our letter details, we find ourselves in situations where we're being asked to do more and more just to get the children in our schools fed adequately and in a timely manner. We care very much about the nutrition and welfare of our district's children, but we feel as if this concern and care we have for the children is being exploited by unfair district policies and decisions. The first of these is the unduly slow hiring process, resulting in many permanent positions going unfilled for months. In fact, it takes on average about 3 months to fill one of these positions. There are currently over 15 permanent food service positions that have not been filled. A second factor is the substitute pool, the list of workers who are called to come in on short notice to replace sick or permanent workers. Many of these workers are sincere and earnest, but just don't have the skills and experience to do this work. And it results in more work for us as we oversee them and train them. And a third factor, and most important I think, is to the declining staffing conditions is the relatively low pay we receive. The low number of hours we are assigned to work and the lack of benefits associated with many of the food service positions. When compared to our peer food service workers in neighboring school districts and to food service workers in similar work environments in the area, our pay is low. This low pay makes it difficult to attract and retain permanent qualified kitchen workers. Perhaps even more of a factor is that many of the positions are scheduled to work a number of hours just below the eligibility threshold for benefits. This low number of hours and lack of benefits also makes it hard to attract and retain qualified workers. And we respectfully request that you please work with us and our local union to address these issues. Thank you.
Denise. Lowry Coe. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing this correctly. Lowry Coe?
Close.
Close?
Close. My name is Lori Cohat, and I don't really have anything prepared. I was just backing up Denise and what she was saying because personally there's just a couple issues with having these issues with staff. I've ended up working 11 times in elementary by myself. That's not a good situation for a number of reasons. One, being very difficult. You're also not giving the kids what they deserve as far as customer service. I mean, they are our guests, they are our customers, they deserve care and attention, and that's not what happens when you work by yourself. There's usually 2 people in an elementary. One is serving food, one is cashiering. And, we're both doing a lot of things, but that's your basic setup. And so when you have someone running back and forth between the two, for one, if the health department came in, that would not make me very happy at that point. You wear rubber gloves and you gear up and take them off as you go. That's not good. That's not the way it should be run. And this has just been going on a very long time. So, I'm concerned about the kids is why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that concludes our public comments period. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. So next up on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion. All right, I'd like to call for a vote.
Because of
Oh,
Kimberly's.
that's right, thank you. We have to do.
We're doing voice votes tonight.
Voice votes tonight, thank you for reminding me. So all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And Kimberly, we could not hear you vote. Do you mind repeating it just so we have it on record?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the consent agenda, that passes 5-0. Next up, we have some information items. The first one is project acceptance for November 2015, the Inglemoor High School re-roofing of buildings, 300, 400, and 600, as well as the Fernwood Elementary circulation improvement and parking lot addition. Do board members have any questions?
I have a question. The list of projects that are either currently going on or going to be done, and maybe it's not, we can deal with this item, but just knowing what's in process for a list would be useful, but I don't have any questions about these, just more about projects in general.
Would you like maybe Ryan or Karen to contact you with some information?
I'm meeting with them in the future, but just
Okay.
in terms of knowing where that is, or that the board would have access to that, or that, I don't know if it's listed online.
So
Is it
there-
in the board briefing?
Yeah, there is a monthly capital projects update that the board receives that lists the status of all ongoing projects, expenditures to date, sort of what the status of the project is, what the next steps of the project would be. So you can take a look at that in a briefing coming to you soon.
Okay.
And if there's more information or with different members on the board, if there's a desire for a different format of information, we can certainly look at that.
And then just to finish that, so then these are projects that have been done, cleared out, and we're approving the finalization of these particular projects.
Correct. Because of the dollar amounts of the particular projects, they fall within a threshold that they need to be reviewed by the board, not necessarily formally accepted by the board, but reviewed, and this is the format we've chosen to do that.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? All right, so we'll move on to the next information item, which is the district budget status report for September 2015. Board members have any questions?
I have a series of questions, but I'm going to talk with a host of the folks tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we'll work through those questions. And I was hoping as we come with the new board to get clarity, and I'll be looking at questions in 3 major areas. One is accounting, a second one is budgeting, and a third one is finance. And so those are 3 slightly connected but also somewhat different. And then as I'm done with that, we'll report back in some format and we'll figure out what that is, whether it be a staff report or a board member coming back. I'm not sure how we'll do that, but I'll be asking those kinds of questions. And I thank the superintendent for setting up that meeting.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Ken, how will our director, how will we, as a board, be informed what questions you are posing tomorrow? Is there a way to get these questions to be sent around to the board members? So I would like to know what they are.
Yeah, I would say it's more just kind of a general conversation. There's certain areas of clarification. So there's certain things, like accounting. Do we follow generally accepted accounting principles? I think we mostly do. There's a few areas maybe where we don't have full implementation. budgeting, best budgeting practices. At the conference we were at, other school districts are moving more towards getting the goals or the outcomes connected into their budget. And so finding a way to kind of make sure you're connecting the money to the mission. So we have our 4 major goal areas, and so how do we connect those? And there's a couple different formats for that. And then in terms of finance, there's been a couple different models. OSPI has a model for assessing the financial condition, which has 3 categories. The state auditor had a model that I think is more comprehensive and more useful. And so it's really, I think, it's more just me meeting with the staff to understand and go through all the questions, make sure that there's clarity. And so I don't exactly know the best way to bring that back to the board. And so I think we'll maybe write a summary of that, so it probably makes sense. I don't know, maybe a staff report, a summary of that conversation, I'm not sure.
I think that's appropriate in terms of, it is I agree with Kimberly, it's very helpful for us to communicate, especially something as detailed as the finances, for sure. So to understand what questions you're asking, even if it's not line item by line item, but categories.
Because one thing I feel is that, so for me, when I came on as a new board member, there was that period of time of, trying to understand how different things work. But it's not a concern, but for lack of a better term, is that it's not bordering onto a study session type of conversation that the board, the whole board should have an opportunity to participate in that discussion. So that's what I'm trying to, and it's very strange not sitting there, by the way, because you only hear like half the conversation. So, forgive me. But yeah, if it's just gathering information because you're a new board member, then I'm totally okay with that. But if it's bordering on study session, then I think maybe that should be like where all the board members can be present. Or that we have a list of questions.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So does, so you understand what yeah.
Asking these questions, I'm not agreeing with that.
Absolutely.
My question is the format.
Mm-hmm. So, and something that is helpful because we act as a body, it is helpful that we do exchange information, and which is what I think Kimberly is referring to, and I would like the benefit of the information as well. So absolutely, in terms of if it goes beyond just clarification questions.
And if the question is an interest in a study session on those topics, I mean, I think that would be great for all of just, to have the clarity about some of those questions. I would be happy to do that, absolutely, yeah.
And I've had questions, I don't, if you're experiencing, you might have different questions, and so I'm just in support of it. I just want to make sure, like I previously said, that we're doing this in the right format, if it's going beyond clarification, or trying to understand the basic system. And I think a study session, but if it's not going beyond that, then I don't think we need that study session, or we could ask for it later.
Well,
That's what I need you to clarify.
right, and maybe, this is up to the discretion of the whole board. Something that we're going to be discussing later on tonight is the upcoming board retreat that we're hoping to schedule. And so that might be an appropriate time just to talk on a very high level, in terms of the board's interest. We're going to have to look at, this is going to be a very busy year, and in terms of how quickly the calendar gets full, it might be something to talk about how we want to approach it as a board. Does that sound good, Kimberly?
Yeah, and I think they're great questions, and I would like to be able to understand our budgeting process and accounting process better also.
So how about,
Never with full agenda, if this is something that David and Ken, because they're new to the board and me being there only 2 years, that is something that would benefit all of us, then I'm going for putting it on the calendar when we can.
so how about, Kimberly, that Ken meets with them tomorrow, staff writes up a synopsis of it, we get it in a board briefing. If we feel like we need further conversation around it, we can talk about it at that time.
Yeah, that would be great, if we need a report back.
Yep, that sounds.
The board understands.
Yeah, that's real good.
And like I said, if you, then you can ask for more, we have questions.
Absolutely.
That's our
All right, great input, Kimberly.